AI is eating the office, and nobody knows what happens next. AI was sold to us as a tool, a helper, a productivity boost, a smart assistant sitting quietly in the corner, making boring work easier. That was the nice version. The version in the adverts. The version where everyone becomes more creative, more productive, and somehow we all work less, while companies become kinder, and the economy magically improves. Beautiful story. Tiny problem. That is not how companies usually behave when they find a cheaper way to do something. They do not say, "Great news, everyone can relax now." They say, "How many people can we replace?" And that is where the AI story starts to get much darker. Because this is not just about chatbots writing emails or making funny pictures. This is about the bottom layer of the white-collar economy. The junior analyst, the paralegal, the customer support worker, the graphic designer, the intern, the entry-level finance worker, the admin assistant, the graduate who did everything they were told to do. Go to school, get the degree, take the debt, build a career. And now, just as they arrive at the door is being replaced by software. That is the uncomfortable question. What happens when AI does not just help workers, but removes the first step of becoming one? Because professional careers are not born at the top. Nobody wakes up as a senior lawyer, senior analyst, senior engineer, or experienced manager. You start at the bottom, you make mistakes, you do boring tasks, you learn the language of the job, you watch people who know more than you slowly become useful. That is how careers are built. But if companies decide the bottom layer is now automatable, then the whole ladder starts to wobble. And Silicon Valley is acting like that is just a minor detail. A little disruption, a little efficiency, a little temporary pain. Which is a lovely way of saying, good luck, graduates. Section 1, the white-collar purge. For decades, automation was something that happened to other people. Factory workers, warehouse workers, cashiers, truck drivers, call center staff. White-collar workers were told they were safe because they had degrees, laptops, meetings, and meaningless job titles with the word strategy in them. But AI does not care about your degree. It does not care that your parents told you office work was the safe path. It does not care that you spent 4 years and a mountain of debt learning how to enter a market that may now need fewer humans at the entry level. And the scary part is not that AI can do everything. It obviously cannot. AI still hallucinates. It still makes stupid mistakes. It can sound confident while being completely wrong. It can write a legal argument and invent fake cases. It can solve hard-looking problems and then fail at something simple. It is not magic. But companies do not need magic. They need good enough. That is the dangerous phrase. Good enough to answer customer questions, good enough to draft a contract, good enough to summarize documents, good enough to make first-pass graphics, good enough to write reports, good enough to scan resumes, good enough to replace the junior person who used to do the first draft. And once good enough arrives, the human has to justify the extra cost. That is where the pressure begins. Not because AI is perfect, but because workers are expensive. Humans need salaries, breaks, training, management, sick days, insurance, time, patience, a future. Software just needs servers, electricity, and someone willing to ignore the damage. Section 2, the entry-level trap. The entry-level job was never glamorous. It was often boring, sometimes underpaid, sometimes humiliating. Sometimes the entire job was making slides nobody read for a meeting nobody needed. But it had one purpose. It got you inside. That first job taught you how the industry worked. You learned the systems, you learned the mistakes, you learned the politics, you learned what actually matters compared to what the job description pretended mattered. If AI removes that first layer, companies may save money now, but they also destroy their own future workforce. It is like cutting down young trees and then wondering why there is no forest later. Companies still want senior people. They still want experience, judgment, leadership, trust, context. But where do those people come from if nobody gets to start? Do they spawn from LinkedIn eggs? Does a senior analyst just fall out of the sky, already knowing how to survive quarterly reporting nonsense? No, they are built over years. And this is the part that makes the AI job story more serious than normal automation. Previous tools often helped junior people become better. Spreadsheets did not remove every accountant, they made accountants faster. Search engines did not remove every researcher, they changed how research was done. But generative AI is different because it can swallow whole tasks. Not just assist with the work. Do the work. Maybe badly sometimes, maybe dangerously sometimes, but cheaply enough that some executive will say, "Let's try it." And once that sentence appears in a boardroom, the interns should start sweating. Section 3, the intern apocalypse. Internships used to be the ugly little bridge between education and employment. You were underpaid, overexcited, and somehow expected to be grateful for the chance to format a PowerPoint at midnight. But at least it was a way in. Now even that bridge is getting crowded, cracked, and guarded by algorithms. More students are applying earlier, more are applying to everything, more are competing for fewer opportunities. And if AI can do the boring intern tasks, companies have a very simple question. Why hire the intern? Why train a human to summarize notes, label data, write basic copy, prepare first drafts, or sort documents when software can do it instantly? Of course, the answer should be, because that is how people learn. But companies do not always care about how people learn. They care about this quarter. They care about cost reduction. They care about telling investors they are integrating AI across the business, which is corporate language for, "We found a new excuse to reduce headcount." And the tragedy is that young people did not cause this. They did what society told them. They got educated, they built CVs, they applied for internships, they entered the race. Then the racetrack moved. Section 4, the AI bubble problem. Now, while workers are panicking, investors are throwing money into AI like they found a money printer inside a data center. Billions for models, billions for chips, billions for cloud, billions for data centers, billions for companies that promise they will automate half the economy, preferably before lunch. And that creates another problem. What if the investment is moving faster than the usefulness? What if the hype is ahead of the product? What if companies are spending like AI is already a digital god, while the technology still sometimes behaves like a very confident intern who has not read the file? That is the strange reality of AI. It can be amazing and ridiculous at the same time. It can write code, it can summarize books, it can generate images, it can help scientists, it can pass exams, it can automate support tickets. And then it can fail at basic reasoning, invent sources, misunderstand a simple instruction, or confidently tell you nonsense with the energy of a politician before an election. This is what people call the jagged frontier. AI is not evenly smart. It is brilliant in one moment and stupid in the next. That makes it powerful and dangerous. Because if you know exactly where it works, it can be useful. But if you blindly trust it everywhere, you are basically giving the steering wheel to autocomplete. Section 5, trust is breaking. The tech industry keeps saying the public will come around. They say people are just scared of change. They say adoption takes time. They say every new technology faces resistance. And yes, sometimes that is true. People were scared of machines before. People mocked the internet. People said computers would destroy jobs. Then new jobs appeared. That is the standard comfort story. But there is a problem. People are not only scared of AI because it is new. They are scared because they can already see how companies might use it. Not to make life easier. To cut jobs, track workers, automate decisions, replace support staff, reject applications, flood the internet with junk, scrape creative work, burn power, raise hardware prices, and then tell everyone it is progress. That is not irrational fear. That is pattern recognition. The public has seen this movie before. A new technology arrives, the rich promise it will benefit everyone, the costs are socialized, the profits are privatized, and ordinary people are told to reskill after the damage is done. No wonder trust is low. People do not hate helpful tools. They hate being turned into a cost-saving opportunity. Section 6. The data center machine. AI looks clean on the screen. A little box, a prompt, a response. Very simple. But underneath, it is heavy industry. Chips, cooling, electricity, water, land, grid upgrades, cloud contracts, massive data centers, machines running day and night so someone can ask a chatbot to write a resignation letter with more warmth. The product looks digital. The cost is physical. That is why AI is not just a software story. It is an infrastructure story. And this is where the bubble gets dangerous. Because if AI companies are promising world-changing automation, they need insane infrastructure to support it. But if the public does not trust it, if businesses do not get enough value, or if smaller, cheaper models become good enough, then the math gets ugly. You can burn billions building the machine, but the machine still has to pay for itself. And right now, a lot of the AI economy feels like a race where everyone is sprinting because they are terrified of stopping first. No one wants to be the company that missed AI. So they all invest, they all announce, they all integrate, they all say agentic workflows until the room loses oxygen. But underneath the buzzwords is a simple question. Is this a sustainable business? Or the most expensive FOMO event in human history? Section 7. The human cost. The worst part is that the debate often becomes too abstract. Productivity, market efficiency, automation risk, capital allocation, enterprise adoption. Nice clean words. But the human version is much uglier. It is the graduate who cannot get an interview. The designer whose work is now treated like training data. The support worker replaced by a chatbot that customers hate. The paralegal watching software eat the tasks that used to teach junior lawyers. The office worker being told AI will free them up for higher value work, which often means they are now free to update their CV. The student who was told a degree was a safe investment and now discovers the entry-level jobs are vanishing before the loan is even paid. That is not just disruption. That is a broken promise. And yes, some new jobs will appear. They always do. AI engineer, prompt specialist, data center technician, model auditor, AI safety researcher, automation consultant. Wonderful. But there is still a brutal question. Will the new jobs appear fast enough, in enough places, for the people being pushed out? And will they be available to normal workers? Or will AI create a small layer of highly paid specialists while quietly removing thousands of normal middle-class stepping stones? Because an economy cannot run only on senior engineers, executives, influencers, and people selling courses about how to use AI to become rich. At some point, ordinary people need ordinary work. Section 8. The trade school plot twist. Here is the funny part. After decades of telling everyone to go digital, the safest jobs might be the physical ones. Electricians, plumbers, builders, mechanics, technicians, people who install, repair, wire, maintain, and physically deal with the real world. AI can write a beautiful paragraph about fixing a pipe. But the pipe is still leaking. Someone has to go there. Someone has to touch the thing. Someone has to deal with the mess. And while white-collar workers are being told to compete with software, the people building and maintaining the physical infrastructure may become more valuable, especially the ones working around data centers, power systems, cooling, networking, and electrical infrastructure. That is the great irony. The server farm replacing the office worker still needs an electrician. So maybe the future was not learn to code. Maybe it was learn to fix the machines that the coders accidentally made everyone dependent on. Section 9, so is this the end? No. AI is not useless. That would be too simple. It is useful, it is powerful, it is already changing work, and anyone pretending it is just a toy is probably making the opposite mistake from the hype people. But the question is not whether AI can do impressive things. It can. The question is whether society is prepared for what companies will do with it. Because technology does not deploy itself. People deploy it, companies deploy it, governments deploy it, investors push it, executives justify it, workers live with it. AI could reduce boring work. Or it could create a permanent audition where every human has to prove they are cheaper, faster, and less annoying than a machine. AI could help people learn. Or it could remove the jobs where people used to learn. AI could make businesses more efficient. Or it could hollow out the career ladder and then act surprised when nobody has experienced 10 years from now. AI could become a tool. Or it could become an excuse. And that is the real danger. Not that AI becomes conscious and takes over the world tomorrow, but that ordinary people get squeezed by very normal human greed using very advanced technology. Conclusion: the AI revolution is not just about intelligence. It is about power. Who owns the models? Who owns the chips? Who owns the data centers? Who pays the electricity bill? Who gets the productivity gains? Who loses the job? Who gets retrained? Who gets ignored? That is the story hiding behind the shiny demos. On the surface, AI looks like software. Underneath, it is a machine. A machine fed by money, chips, energy, data, and ambition. And now that machine is rolling toward the office. Maybe it creates a better economy. Maybe it unlocks new kinds of work. Maybe the panic is overblown. But maybe we are watching the first stage of a white-collar purge dressed up as innovation. And if that is true, the scariest part is not that AI is too smart. The scariest part is that companies may not need it to be. They only need it to be cheap enough.